Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Pointless Discourse, where myself, Hoppocalypse and DPayne.
The webpage is loading. I forgot to open this.
He is gonna
D
casually.
Matt. That's hello / good day in Breton.
And then this week we do have a special guest, RainbwLiteBrite. And I know we usually have a typical format, but we're changing it up this week since we have another special guest, and we'll just be talking about indie games and the experiences we've had with them and how much we've liked them. Do we have any announcements, DPayne?
One. Hey, listener from Hong Kong, welcome. For anyone that doesn't know, whenever we get a new listener from another country, we always say hi to them. And when we don't know if they ever come back, but we say hi. And we now have a Hong Kong listener.
Well, that's awesome.
Confuses me.
Congrats.
We're still waiting for Mars.
Will that be Elon Musk?
Elon, my boy.
But yeah.
No, that's pretty much it. I can't think of anything. We gotten out of our season of craziness, so which was like August.
Yeah, we found out we were international, and that was a surprise for DPayne. DPayne was like, "We didn't have announcements this week, but we do now."
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So one thing that we do when we have a guest, which, Rainbow, you're now our second guest, so now anything we do with you becomes tradition, since now we've done it more than once.
Okay.
I think that's how that works, or something you do once that is that people just keep saying is tradition. But yeah. So for anyone who isn't familiar with RainbwLiteBrite, I still remember how we first met, which was like very spur of the moment because I was doing my normal thing that I do in airports when I come home from cons, which is wander around them because I get there way too early, and I was walking past the end of the security section, and I actually saw Noklahoma, and we're like, hey, what's up? And she's like, oh man, well, RainbwLiteBrite and her husband are about to come in, we're gonna get food, you want to join? I'm like, I have like 20 minutes before my flight, sure. And we just sat down and met and talked, and then it was like, I just remember looking at my watch like while listening and talking to everyone. I'm like, I hope this food shows up in the next like 3 minutes because I got to go in 5. So but yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then after that, definitely came over to the mixer channels and all that stuff. But I guess for people who don't know who you are or anything, or this is the first time meeting you, like, I don't know, how would you introduce yourself in 5 words or more?
5 words or more. Okay, I was gonna say 5 words or more. It's like if you have to, type it, like cut everything down. Okay, we're gonna have some issues because, well, first, streamer, I don't know how to shut up, and 2, I don't even know if I can put that kind of pressure on myself. But I guess well, actually, you know what? I'll go with what I just put on my business card. So I am a variety creator. I'm a community cultivator, and also a mental health advocate, and a fundraiser. My focuses are salt, sarcasm, singing, and support. I think that wraps everything up pretty nicely.
I just realized I had a whole bunch of commands that I never shut off. I'm like, I gotta shut these off.
We thought we were so prepared.
We were goofing really hard, and then I'm like, oh no. They didn't come on, but I'm just like, I know if the regulars show up, they will let me know that they're here. And they're gone. Haha. Take that, regulars.
Okay. So another question for you, Rainbow. So what games have you been playing lately?
Lately I've been playing quite a bit of different ones because I'm trying to address my backlog, depending on the system. I think I've pretty much given up on trying to go through most of the stuff on my Xbox, but I've actually been trying to do more Steam games. So recently I played Spiritfarer. I have been playing what's it called? The Ambassador Fractured Timelines, which just recently came out, I believe. I've been playing. Oh gosh, I brought myself back into Smite and Paladins, which are usually my main bread and butter when I am at a loss of what else to play. But I've been trying to play like a few different games. There's a couple of games that I think his name is Zalavier Nelson has been developing, and one of the ones I actually want to try is his main game called An Airport for Aliens, currently run by dogs. If you've heard of that one before, it's interesting. Essentially, you go to an airport and like just weird, crazy, zany things happen, and I'm here for it.
And I guess this is one of the things we did talk about a little bit earlier, that this week you were part of a fundraising thing to write love on. Oh wow, why do I always butcher their name when I'm trying to say to write love on her arm?
Yes.
Yeah, Lane, do you want to? You were sharing a little bit about that. It's like a week-long main campaign thing.
Yes. So, to write love on her arms, or to Aloha for short, if you just want to say that, it's just easier. Aloha, but with the TW at the beginning.
Oh.
I usually just do that because I get tripped up when I do that too. So this week, they were really focusing hard on a campaign for National Suicide Prevention Day and World Suicide Prevention Week, I believe. Or actually, no, reverse those two. But this week they really pushed hard to raise $50,000. I believe 10 of which was matched in grants to continue the work that they do to provide low and no cost mental health services for people who may not otherwise be able to afford it. They have a Find Help tool on their website, which is, I believe, currently only in the US, but they also work closely with other organizations that work worldwide. I love them because they've been around, gosh, since I think 2006, 2005, 2006. They're really prominent on the music scene, and recently have been expanding over into like the gaming and streaming space, which I think is incredibly important, especially as streaming and the like are gaining more momentum and traction as main sources of entertainment and hobbies and whatever else, and especially now during everything else that's going on. So very important work. Very excited and proud to work with them and represent them and raise money to help people.
Yeah, I know that we, like, me, Hop, and then we had a, I don't know if gaggle's the right word, but it was a bunch of people like back a couple months ago. Was it April or May? I don't know, but like we got a whole bunch of people together and did like a week-long campaign of our own, just all working together. So we are familiar with them, and I remember seeing them at like music festivals I would go to. I'm like, oh, those are cool looking T-shirts. And that's as far as my brain went, because I was like just graduated high school or right about to at that point. So I'm just like, oh, okay. So yeah, but that's neat. Like for real, guys. Man, it'd probably been good to have the link in there. But yeah.
Yeah, it's just
aloha.com. Aloha. But yeah, definitely check them out. They offer a lot of resources, and if I remember correctly from what I read a couple months ago, they partner with a lot of different facilities to help like with mental health and to help suicide prevention and stuff. Like, so they're real good. Yeah. Yeah, definitely give them a look. They are cool. That they do real good work. Ooh, they're everywhere.
Yeah, and for anyone listening to this, when we have an audio format, we'll be sure to have a link for you in the description below, as well as a link to check out Rainbow. Note. But yeah, Rainbow. So where can people find you? Are you mainly on Twitch, or do you have other forms of social media too?
Mainly on Twitch, but you can also find me on Twitter and Instagram. I don't do the rest of them because, well, I struggle enough trying to keep up with these, so.
I feel that.
All right, note has been made. Hopefully I don't lose said note. Yeah. And we'll even say this at the end again. Links to all Rainbow stuff will be down below. I say below. Well, when this gets on YouTube, that will make sense. That's you have to make a note for those links.
I have a backlog.
A backlog of notes. But yeah, they'll be in the show notes for the podcast as well. Yeah. So now comes our favorite part. Oh, unless there was any more questions. Rainbow, do you have any questions for yourself that you want to share?
I have many questions for myself, but I don't think they're appropriate to talk about on this podcast.
Do you have any answers to questions we forgot to ask?
Yeah. Like, what are your feelings on talking food? This will make no sense for anyone that just listens to the audio. Just listen to the end when I put in the outros, guys. All right. But yeah. In short, Rainbow good people. So definitely check out Rainbow and her stuff. And I don't know. I'm just thinking of Fall Guys. Oh man.
Are you gonna push me off the seesaw?
No, I was just remembering watching you play Fall Guys, and I was laughing.
Oh dear.
So, I don't know. I feel like Fall Guys is definitely like just one of those games that is just laughter fuel.
Oh, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm gonna take. This is normally when Hop is like, now this is when we roll dice. I forget what she says, but we roll dice.
Yeah, so for anyone unfamiliar with the format, basically we roll dice to see who gets to go first. It's because DPayne and myself play a lot of tabletop RPGs. Essentially, we will roll what's called a d20. It's a 20-sided dice, and whoever has the highest number goes first.
Whoever has the middle number will go middle, and whoever has the lowest will go last.
Yeah, and we don't have our other special rules because we're not talking about any of our bad times.
Yes. Exactly. Roll for initiative. Yeah. Okay. Oh, so while we're rolling dice, one of the things that's a little bit different from this, if anyone's listened to our other podcast, normally we do our top 2 and worst 2. But this time, mainly because of the subject that we're talking about with indie games, we love indie games, so it's just like we're gonna talk about what we like and just have fun with that. Plus, this would go on for way too long. So some of us have to eat dinner before we go live again later.
I can't tell you about how many games that I do not like.
So yeah, what everyone roll?
I got a 4.
Oh.
I got an 18.
Well, I got a 7. So
okay,
you get to go first.
Yeah,
Oh, and so what we do is we share our runner-up one, so our second one, and then we'll share our number 1 second. And so, I believe we go in order. So we've been doing this for 21 weeks, and I already forgot how we do this. So you share one, and then I'll share one, and then Hop will share one, and then we go back up.
Okay. All right. So we're starting with the runner-up.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Gosh. See, I even have ties for runner-up. You know what? I'm just gonna say I think my runner-up is probably Untitled Goose Game, which should be surprising for a lot of people because I really, really love that game so much. Like so much so in fact that 2 of my emotes are geese.
I see them in chat.
Like I have a command in chat. I've got like 4 like goose related t-shirts. There's a lot of people that became regulars on the night that I started playing it for the first time. But it was really hard trying to pick just 2. But yes, it is definitely in my top games.
So what was your favorite section of Untitled Goose Game?
All the terrorizing. I mean the whole concept. Actually when I found out about this last year, I actually got to see it for the first time at PAX West last year, and walked by the booth, and they had everything set up so that there was like a couch, and like you just sat on the couch and played. And there was like ample room around, like around and behind the couch to watch people play. And so like, and I just was wandering around, and I think we are waiting for somebody, and I just happened to look over, and I saw like this person controlling this goose and just causing general chaos. And I was like, oh, what is this? I was like, because like normally, in most IRL situations, I try to be, as affable and amicable as possible, but having a game based on, and I believe it says something like, it's a beautiful day and you're a terrible goose. That's like the entire, concept of this game. And I was like, oh, really? I'm intrigued. Tell me more, As far as like favorite parts, maybe the second stage where you get to terrorize that child that looks like
That's exactly
Arnold
what I was
from
thinking.
Magic School Bus.
Give me your glasses.
Like if I could take his lunch money, I would have done that too. But and then also being able to lock the shopkeeper in the garage. That's always a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Just slam the door in her face, and then she has to make her way out of the other way. But yeah, I think that's probably my favorite.
Did you ever play Untitled Goose Game?
I've played bits and pieces. I never got a chance to finish it. I know I would love it if I actually sat down, but I did watch Strider play some of it, so I am familiar with this stage with the kid. I remember him sitting there and go, all right, I need the kid to get scared and then to take the glasses, but to run away fast enough. It's just because I think it's a beautiful puzzle because it doesn't come off like a traditional puzzle game. Because you still have to put all the pieces together, but you get the joy of being a bully, and you're allowed to be a bully.
Yes, it's encouraged.
I like when Farmer Man is just like, you take something. Oh, I think it's like his keys you have to take or something. But there's like something where he just keeps like wherever you put it back, he'll just get it. And so you're like, you know what? And you just take it to the other side of the lake, and you're like, get it now.
You with your long legs.
Oh man. I also remember watching a video where it was like a person walking back to the starting place, and they it zooms out from the end, like as you have the bell, and then it goes back to the end, and just everything that you can grab is in this pit. And it's just like, I'm like, wow, you have too much time on your hands. But I'm like, that's
like,
great.
you thought you were a jerk before.
Yeah. It brings it to a whole new level.
This is just one day in a series of many. I feel like that was a feeling that I got at the end there. Just okay, so this is continuous.
It's like, so I heard you like things that are mine.
That reminds me, I still have to finish the speed runs on that. So I did the entire game, and then the second, like, quote unquote, like, advanced run through, and then at the end, they're time trials. So you have to complete each of those stages in, I think it's like 6 minutes or less. And it's so hard because like there's no countdown, there's no anything. So like when you get into one of the areas, like the only way you know your time is up is if you hear like the bell chiming. Okay. And some of those are really hard to do like under 6 minutes. And I think I'm stuck like in the middle of all those time trials. Actually, I need to work on that some. So maybe that'll be something that I do soon.
That's always a fun way to get to revisit the game. And I also saw pointed out in chat, I am excited for the announcement for the multiplayer Goose. 2 Goose.
Oh, yes.
Double the Goose.
Yes. Co-op, the couch co-op geese. I'm gonna make my husband play that with me.
Yeah, I'll probably end up playing it like that with my boyfriend. Because I know we try to find co-op games to play together, but sometimes they don't feel so co-op. So I'm hoping the geese one will feel like a good time.
Well, I guess if I'll just hold both controllers.
Double honk.
Yeah. Yeah, that does like I wonder if they're gonna add new stuff. Like if there's gonna add like another section, or is it just the same game? Because either way, that will work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. it'll be
I
interesting
don't
to see
know.
what happens.
I haven't heard about that part. I just got excited about the whole 2-player aspect. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh.
Yeah, like I don't know. It's like that's like literally that's all they have to do, which is all they're doing, which I think is smart. It's just like, yo, you remember that Goose Game? Now there's two. It's like, so I don't know. It like they don't. I don't think they would have to add new things, but like it makes me wonder.
So I don't know about them adding new things, but I do appreciate that they released a version that like the case that it comes in and like all the like everything else within it is all completely like recyclable, and it was all made with recycled materials.
Uh,
It was really
I was
nice,
like, well,
yeah.
that's kind of fancy, right? It's not really something you think about. Like, you got games in the past, before digital became like a huge thing, and now you just have like a whole set of encyclopedia cases for your games that what else are you gonna do with them?
Jenga.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
Weird shaped Jenga. The only other fun thing I know about this game is I think in Japan it's translated to that mischievous goose game.
Even better, even better.
Or I don't even know if game's part of it. It just may be that mischievous goose. I heard it on a podcast, so take it with a grain of salt. I don't know how true it is, but it's still a fun way to hear that game called, which
It's accurate.
fits the title.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh man. Okay. Well, yeah. Is there anything else we want to share about this, or?
If you haven't played it, then play it.
Is it still on Game Pass?
I believe it still is.
I think it is.
That's how I played it.
If not,
Played
it's
it for
on
years.
every
Steam.
system at this point, I think.
Yeah. If it's not on
Yes,
Game
it
Pass,
is.
you'll find it soon.
Mhm.
Shouldn't be that hard. Okay. Yeah, so I rolled 7, so I'm next. So one of my favorite indie games is I don't know, there's like a few indie games that I think are like the concept of them are really cool. And there's I really enjoy like the side scrolling platformer style a lot. Um and then this one just like takes to a whole new level, and it's a game called Katana Zero. I don't know if anyone's familiar with it. But Katana Zero pretty much is it's very interesting because like like when you have the game with like the essential like super tough guy, like super OP dude, but then like you're just bad at the game and you die and you're like, that's not how that works. Like what's happening here? And it's like the way they get around that is like you start at the beginning of the level and you playing it is him planning out every single step of that area, and then once you finish that area, that it happens in reality as he goes through and like kind of fights people. And it starts off and like it gets more and more complex and faster and faster and faster as you keep going, because like you have the ability to like slow down time and go through all these different things. I know it was at PAX. It was at a few PAX. It's it's produced by Devolver Digital, but it's like all made from one guy. But yeah, it's like once you like start playing, you're like, this game is made for speed runs. And
Makes sense.
yeah, like and like if you played like Mega Man style games like Mega Man Zero or just any kind of Mega Man, it's very similar to that, where it's just like you just run and gun. And I realize me playing these games is why I'm really impatient in like Fall Guys, when I have to stand here, but I have to move. Is an example. Or yeah, just any game like platforming game where I was like, I have to move. I can't stand still. It's because of these games. But and it's got a really interesting story. Pretty much you're like, I'm trying to remember exactly what you're, but like you're, of course I haven't played in a while, so my brain blanks out. But pretty much you're this guy who keeps doing these mercenary missions for this like shadow organization person, but at the same time wants to keep like being your psychologist, or Yeah, that's right. Word, your therapist, and so you have to keep answering these questions. But there's also the option to, if you hit the button quick enough, you can just cancel the whole conversation out. And he's like, fine, if you're not even going to listen to me, like whatever, just move on. And and the like characters and different people just keep getting mad at you. But it's playing with that whole thing where there's you take this drug that you perceive time differently, and like it's like there's a whole point where you're like, oh man, this person, like, he's like, how many times has he died now? And it's like, oh no, what are you talking about? He's still here. And it's like, yeah, but he's on this. And the people that take too much of it, like, keep replaying scenes in their head. And it's like, so that's like how they're going through different scenarios of like if you get captured and stuff. It's but like the story is interesting and all that, but it's definitely one of those games where controls are very, very tight. Like, it's very, very tight controls, and like it's not like, oh man, my character like floated off the whatever and just, man, that was the game. It's like, no, you have to get good. Like, you can't blame the game for messing up, because like the controls are just solid and on point, and it's like, it just, oh man, it's just a real good game. I really like it. It's one of those games I constantly want to go back and like it like there's a handful of games and I was like, okay, what indie games do I constantly want to keep playing over and over and over? And I'm like, yeah, Katana Zero is one of those ones I have played multiple times and gone through, and story's a little heavy, but it's definitely worth checking out. So then again, this also seems like the last time we had a guest on where I mentioned a game, like, oh, no one knows it.
I think Strider might have played this because he's also big on side scrollers. I am not great at side scrollers. I remember growing up, I think the only one I really played was one of the Metroids on the Game Boy. And I did okay at it. It's never been like I never really got into Castlevania or Mega Man or any of those. So it's never really been my type of game. And I remember starting Ori, but I didn't finish it because I messed up and missed stuff in an area and I felt bad.
Just throw the whole thing away.
Yeah, and start over.
Yeah. So I guess one of the things I do like about Katana Zero is that when you start, they give you everything. And it's like, there's nothing, like, you don't increase your life because pretty much you die in one hit anyway. And it's really fast. And so it's just like, okay, figure out what you have to do and get good. And it's just like, do I have to? Yes, I have to. And but it's like a gradual progression where like you start off like facing like a stage with just 4 people in there as you go through, and then you go to the end where you're going down like a multiple stage, like multiple levels of a staircase, and there's like people with turrets just like launching missiles at you, and you're like, no, just like, don't touch me.
Sounds intense from like being able to get hit once.
Yeah, it is really intense, but it's just like you learn different things, like not learn different things, but like they tell you kind of the tech where it's like you can swing your sword to deflect bullets if you time it right, which why you want to like use your ability to slow down time to like make sure you can do some of those things. But then they also have like a little bit of a dash that gives you like a couple of frames of invincibility and jumping around. It's yeah, so like they give you the whole playbook, and they're just like, become a master of said playbook. And it's
there
like,
you go, good luck, have fun.
Yeah. So like there's like when you first go through it, it's a lot of like just repeating the level over and over and over and over and over, and it's like, but I don't know, like I'm also realizing like I have this personality where it's just like, I'm doing this, I don't care, and like people are like, just, can you skip it? I'm like, shut your mouth, I'm doing this.
Don't make me turn this stream around.
I'll turn it right around back into the level again. But yeah, cool thing. If you guys anyone in chat or any of you guys want to check out a very high pace platformer action thingy. Katana Zero, cool stuff.
I think I want to say I've heard about it. I can't say that I've seen gameplay, but I'm pretty sure I've heard it.
Yeah,
At
I
least.
remember the one year I went to PAX East, they had a huge booth for it. Um, and then there's other stuff like there's a whole section where you gotta like face a whole bunch of people on a motorcycle. Like you're just riding a motorcycle around doing like all your sword things, and you have to take out a helicopter. It's like how the
Okay,
heck you
that
take
sounds
out a
really cool.
helicopter? Yeah, it's an action movie that like I don't know. It's just
Bring
it's
out
just
your
real
inner
fun
Die
stuff.
Hard. Let's go.
So it's like it's crazy. Like once you get to the end of the game, and then like you look back at what, and then like if the next week you start from the beginning again, you realized how much you've learned and mastered at the controls, because like what was giving you like all this trouble in the beginning, you're now just like boop 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 and like just go straight through, and you're like, I had trouble with this. And so like what took you like, I don't know, 5-10 minutes to get through the first time takes you like 3 to finish the whole first stage, because like the whole thing is just supposed to be like boom 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 boom, like real fast. And it's really like the second playthrough is like just to see how much you progressed is really fun. So yeah, that's all I have to say.
No, sounds like a fun time. I don't know if I could handle that level of stress though. Just knowing that like if I make one misstep, it's like, oh no.
And well, like it's not like when you die like you have to start the whole level over. It's just like each thing is in like your screen is the whole like stage that you have to go through.
Mm.
So it's like you need to get from one point A to point B like on your screen, and through there you have to eliminate all the enemy combatants. And so it's so if you die, you just start back at the bottom of the screen. You don't regress. Like
Okay.
so
That doesn't sound so harsh, but still.
yeah. There's like there are some levels where you're like, oh man, I know what I have to do, and you're in the flow, and then it's like you just didn't hit the button to pick up like the throwable like bottle, and you're like, like I missed that. And like but like because like the way you're going is like you're luring people, and so if you turn around to grab the bottle, you get shot, and you're like, so it's like you like restart it like 5 times just trying to pick up the stupid bottle.
Oh gosh.
So it's one of those style games, but it's like, but there's other ways like to do it. Like there's multiple ways you can complete a level where it's just like you don't use any of the pickup thingies. Like you just dash and slash, or you use your environment. There's a lot of ways to complete the level. So it's fun for me.
And that's the beauty of indie games. There's so many.
Oh, show. Well, go ahead, Hop. What's your runner-up?
All right, my runner-up, I had a bunch of things that I tied for, but I think what I'll do is after I talk about this runner-up, and when we go back around and talk about our number ones, we can like fit in our little list of like people that almost made the list.
I have that too.
Yeah, our runner-ups. I only have 2 there right now, and I think that's all I'm gonna have. I don't think anything else is gonna pop up in my memory suddenly. But so my second place for my favorite indie game, from what I can remember, is Darkest Dungeon.
That's good.
Yes. It almost made it into the runner-up list, and Starter was like, but you love that game. I was like, I know. Because like I remember there was a point where I decided I wanted to try and complete the entire, I think, Groundskeeper checklist. And it was I played it so much that I reached a point where I didn't want to play it anymore. But if you really looked at how much time I put into it, it really deserves like this spot. For me, I love a lot of like turn-based games. I know technically when I first started streaming, way back when, I just did it straight from my Xbox and didn't have a webcam or anything. I did it, XCOM was the first game I had ever streamed. So I've always been a big fan of the turn-based games, and I like this turn-based style that they have in it, and the combat style, and the overall aesthetic. I know I don't really dress like it or really decorate anything in my room like it, but Darkest Dungeon probably is my favorite aesthetic the doom and gloom and just general horror. Because I do, for a little while, I was reading a lot of Lovecraft, and you can see like where some of the inspiration for that is. And also a lot of the voice lines in Darkest Dungeon, I still just quote them randomly. One of my
remember some.
my favorite one is curious is the trapmaker's art. The efficacy of his art unseen by his own eye, I think is how it's worded. But I don't know, just all of it, I can still talk about stuff. And I had a friend recently who's in one of my D&D groups. She was like, yeah, I've seen Darkest Dungeon, but I don't know if I want to play it. And we were like, oh, it's a great time, without really explaining how hard the game actually is. So we started to get messages. She was like, everybody's dead. What do I do now?
That's another good line. Overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer.
That's a good one. And I just remember I'm sure if I still went back, I could go in and go, oh yeah, I'm going into the place with the underwater people. I can't take any of my bleed people because they've all got armor and they're all immune to poison. Well, no. But I know I haven't really gone back to play a lot of the newer content. I played a little bit of it and tried out some of the newer classes that I thought were pretty interesting. But I know they've had updates even up to recently where they added in that like team battler mode. So that's another
circus?
Yeah, something circus. Butcher's Circus?
Butcher's Circus, yeah.
Yeah. And I also
played it like a week or two. Not a week or two, like a month ago.
Yeah, and I do like when they are still able to like put out content for people to just like be able to go back and revisit the game. I still never tackled the I think it's like a vampire one, that DLC, because every time someone told me that they owned it, they said they accidentally started that mission and then they couldn't finish that save because it was too hard. So I was like, oh, I'll leave that one for later.
Yeah.
I like how that game is animated, because it's just all 2D people, but they just turn them enough and move like your point of view a little bit when you do your battles. You're like, this is so cool looking, but then if you just take a step back, like, they're just moving the point of focus a little bit and just like make the characters bigger. They're just like, yes, or they'll just throw some effects on them. I'm like, but it looks so cool.
Yeah, it's very smooth animation for like, it's not complex, but it's got a lot of like subtle like shading and a just slight change in point of view to really bring them to life.
Yeah.
The thing I've always been bad at is I have the bad habit of picking favorite characters, and I'm like, all right, back into the dungeon. Oh no, you're not doing well. I have no one to make up for it. Nobody else is this level.
Yeah. Well, like my most recent playthrough is like I never was able to, like, all my people would just die, and it's just like I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I don't know what made this run different, but like I've done multiple sections, and like I was like, wow, so this is what happens when you don't lose and you can like start upgrading. And now I have like I still have the 2 starter people that are alive, and they're like, I'm not going to that dungeon, it's beneath me. And I'm like, but I need you. Come back.
I know the personality traits they also put on people, I think, is really fantastic too. It makes the game a lot harder, but then for me, I think it's a fun puzzle to have to figure out. In my one playthrough where I played it way too much when I was trying to do the entire checklist, I technically 100%ed every area, but I had never gotten into the Darkest Dungeon. And then when I finally went into the Darkest Dungeon, I lost immediately. And I was just like, I'm okay, fine. Fine. This save is over.
To the brightest dungeon. You jacks.
Yeah, because and the other thing about the checklist is I accidentally overleveled every area. Because like you said, you reach certain areas and they get harder and harder. Mm-hmm. One of the checklist thing is to get every class to be level 5, I think. So I had some people that I didn't max out, but all of my dungeons were too hard to take them in. And it was a vicious cycle. I'd keep bringing the classes I didn't like into a dungeon, and they'd be like, I'm too stressed out. I'm going to start hurting myself every turn. I was like, what am I supposed to do?
Like, I'm going to start hurting you if you don't pull yourself together.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's such a fun. Have you ever played it, Rainbow, or are you familiar with it at all? Or
I have not, but again, I think I'm familiar with that, but haven't had like a lot of experience like with the gameplay.
Yeah, the gameplay itself is, I'd say the gameplay is straightforward, but understanding the consequences in the long run is the hardest part, because it's basically a general like turn-based combat where you're just worried about the positioning in a row to be able to outbeat the other opponent's positioning in their row. But be careful if you send your guys to relax at the brothel. Sometimes they catch something and they can't go back there anymore.
Yeah. Well, like, and then just positioning is just interesting because if you have a character that's like has a dash forward attack, like cool, sweet, that did major damage. Oh, my front two party members are now worthless because they're not in that one position they can do anything, and you're like, oh, and now you spend like 5 turns just like reorganizing everybody, and you're like, oh. So, but yeah, that's it's definitely. Oh, I just remembered another game I gotta put in my runner-up list. It's just, it's yeah, it's definitely like a fun. Fun is a relative term. It's a, it's an experience.
Yeah, and I agree with what someone said in chat. Like when you feel like you did well in that game, it really, you feel like you did really well because it's really easy for people to die and for you to lose people.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I think in my current one, that's just like, hey, if I don't have anything or if I finish a game early or whatever's planned, like I'll just boot that up. Why didn't I think of that last night? Oh well. um, yeah, so I've only lost one person so far. Everyone else, like, they just get to the point where I'm like, I don't feel like wasting money on you to feel better, so go be mad somewhere else. Go be crazy in another town. Go away. And so, that or it's like, okay, go pray or get whipped or whatever you're doing to get rid of
Can we
your
not
stress.
right now? Can we just not?
So it's like, just go away. Just go get better. I'll send you back in to be mad later. So, yeah. I don't know. Was there anything else?
No, I think I talked about my major things about the game. I don't know, like the brain or the brain. Yeah, the game makes my brain hurt sometimes, but in a good way.
What's that like?
It's like an ice cream headache. Where it's just like, well, this feels real bad, but this tastes so good. Yeah. All right.
Okay. All right, cool.
So, what is Rainbow's #1 indie game for the millennia?
Or she could put in her list of her almost made the lists before she goes into her number one.
I was gonna say I'm gonna have to do the almost. Okay, so there's like a handful. One I will I'll consolidate into one entry, but it's several entries. But I'll save that for the last one. Okay, so A Short Hike, which I just recently really played this week. It's a gorgeous game with amazing music. It's got great messaging. It's real simple to play. It's still it's a really great game. And you can play it like a couple of times. You know, it's got a really great balance of humor and heart. I would recommend anybody to play it. It's wonderful. Party Hard, which is funny because I haven't played that in a long time, but that one's just fun to play. I've actually got the second one I still need to start and play through, but that was one of the first games that I ever streamed ever. And I got obsessed with trying to trying to get as close to like perfecting like all the kills as possible. Never quite got there, but it's one of those like the puzzle games. It doesn't really feel like a puzzle because like you're just trying to have fun with it. And there's so like many different ways that you can achieve the objectives, and the second one builds on that by having like additional objectives, different approaches. I believe they also have like different characters that you can use too. So that was just like fun. Like anybody could pick that up and just have fun with it. um okay, so kind words. I think the actual whole title is kind words, and in the parentheses, lo-fi chill beats to write to. You know what? I'll even just read the little blurb they have on their site. So it's a game about writing nice letters to real people. You're writing and receiving encouraging letters in like a cozy little room. You trade stickers and listen to chill music. And then their tagline kind of is, "We're all in this together. Sometimes all you need are a few kind words." Um, I love the whole aspect of it. I love the aesthetic. It's definitely way up my alley. If anybody has known me for any like small amount of time, um, it's something that I feel like is definitely needed, especially like in today's world, especially with so many people living online. It's very easy to just like make like a really brief, like fleeting connection and just like give somebody just like a boost really easily. I'm always all for anything like that that's like about positive support. And it's like I feel like it's probably better because it's all anonymous. So you can venture out and like say things, and you can get support from people who don't know you but are still rooting for you, and there's something really powerful and amazing about that. And then my last one, this is the conglomerated one. It's Annapurna Games, Annapurna Interactive. They do a lot of games. Specifically, the ones that I'm thinking about are Sayonara Wild Hearts, Donut County, and Kentucky Route Zero. They're all fantastic games, all completely different, and all immensely fun, and just enjoyable altogether. So those are all my runners up.
Yeah, it's the Sayonara Wild Hearts one. It was just funny because in one of my discords, pretty much someone was like, "I played Sayonara Wild Hearts and I didn't like it and all this stuff," and they're just like, "I don't know what I'm doing wrong," and then they're like, "I don't know. I know Payne played it," and so I had to explain to them, "Is like, you play Sayonara Wild Hearts by the beat of the music, not what you see on screen." Like for all that, because he's like, "I had trouble hitting the button prompts and all that," and I'm like, "Yeah, guy, it's you don't look at that. You have to listen to the music and the audio. It's much more audio. It's a much more musical interaction game than it is a tight like controlled skill based game, if that makes sense. But it's an experience, and it's great."
I saw that demo. Again, I sat there and watched people play it at PAX, and I think I probably stood there for like 20 minutes, just like with my jaw hanging open, like, "Wow, this is so
Same
cool."
here. Here, I brought two props because Hop said she was bringing a prop, so I brought a prop, which is this, which is the inside. It really isn't all that interesting, but it's the record of Sayonara Wild Hearts that I was like, I heard that this music was really good, so I just went out on a limb and bought the records before I even played the game because it was like, it's a limited run. I'm like, I heard this music really good. I'm just gonna buy it, and I'm really lucky. I like the music.
It could still just be a talking piece, even if you didn't.
Yeah, but yeah, some games that you put on your runner-up list that I thought about putting up on my runner-up list. Donut County is really fun. It's really simple, but it's really cute. And back when I had my bot set up when I streamed on Mixer, I made it so that if anyone got banned, it said "Have a garbage day" and had that little. I know
that T-shirt. But...
Yeah, I wanted the T-shirt, but they didn't have my size anymore at the particular PAX I was at. And then
the Trash King.
It's beautiful. And then kind words I'd been meaning to get into, but I never got around to being able to pick it up.
Yeah, I've seen a few people play Kind Words.
I think it's still $5, and then the soundtrack is also $5. Which, can I just point out that all the music is made by one composer, and he like updates that like every now and then. So like all the music that you hear like in that entire game is made by one person.
Okay.
It's really
Well,
great.
if we're gonna share, wait, do we just want to share runner-ups? Because I'm like looking through, and the one that I wasn't sure would be mentioned was already mentioned. So I'm pretty sure the other ones on my runner-up list won't be. I'll be surprised if
Yeah.
they're on the list. So, do we want to share runner-ups and then we can go into our tops?
Yeah, we could do that way.
Or Rainbow, did you share your top already?
No, those are my runner-ups. I
Okay,
still
okay,
haven't.
okay. Yeah. So the ones that I have written as my runner-ups was Sayonara Wild Hearts, Untitled Goose Game, which were two excellent games. Definitely people should play. The other two that I wrote down was A Hat in Time and Disco Elysium. A Hat in Time is a 3D platformer. Like it's very much like Mario Odyssey kind of, but instead of throwing your hat to like possess things and people and stuff, your hats give you different abilities, and like it's just like a really like cute game that you play, and you're just like pretty much you're this like time lord like girl, and these random mafia people come in and put a bomb on your spaceship and blows it up to take
Oh,
all your little
jeez.
time powers, and you're like, what? No. And so like the whole thing is collecting the little hourglasses so that way you can get time, like the ability to like go back in time and well, not go back in time, but just like have control of your like time ship thing. It runs off time. I don't remember exactly how it works, but like there's like an assortment of levels that just have different themes that are just really cool, where it's like you start off and there's like Mafia Town, and all the enemies are just big balded muscle men with with suits, and they're just like, hey, what are you doing, just like chase you around. And you're like, as you're trying to like, no no no, and just like jump up on different things and collect stuff, and unlock different hats. And then one of the coolest levels is like there's like a Halloween Town one, like Nightmare Before Christmas style.
Mm.
Um, not like a musical, but it gives you that kind of aesthetic and theme, and it's like spooky but like fun. Like it's not like jump scare spooky stuff, but like it's the whole like Halloween aesthetic, and it's just that was a lot of fun. And it's I remember I beat it in one sitting. I did it in 10 hours, and I was like,
Wow.
why I sit here for so long? This came out in like 2018. So this is when I, on Saturdays, I would just try to find an indie game to beat from start to finish. And it was one of those things where it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I should go to bed, but I want to see the end. But it's definitely a fun game. And Disco Elysium it doesn't matter what you do in this game, you're going to fail. It's like everything is based off like these digital dice rolls that you don't see, and like you have this character sheet that you make, so you can make yourself like super strong, but like because you do that, you're just dumb. Or you can make yourself super dumb, like super smart, but you're weak, or you won't have enough like detective skills. And pretty much you wake up and like from a hangover, and you're like, where's my stuff? And like you have to walk around, and if you leave the apartment room before collecting your clothes, you're just running around like in your underwear, and everyone's like, who are you, what are you doing? And you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. And you're just
Where
like,
are your clothes?
yeah. And like people will like run away from you, not want to talk with you. And like, but like you wake up, you collect your stuff, and you're like, where's my gun? Because you're a detective, and you're like, well, and then it comes to the point where you're like, do I report to my supervisor that I don't have my gun? That might get me in trouble, but it's good for people to know. And then so there's like all these different things that you go and do. And like one of the best things is like you go down, the guy's like, are you gonna pay your tab? And you're like, what are you talking about? And you have the options like pay it or run. And if you run, and fail your run check, you slip and fall into this lady. Well, like, no, you run and you like try to do this like pretty much matrix jump, and you turn around and like double flip off the bartender. But when you do, like, the camera just looks over as you just fly into this lady that has a wheelchair, and they're all like, now you owe us more money.
Oh gosh!
And he's
Oh,
like,
no.
he's like, ah, my back, and just like freaking out.
Worth a shot, I guess.
Yeah, so it's that kind of humor, that kind of like stuff, but it's definitely one of those things like, okay, it's given me the option. Should I do this? And like, even if you succeed, you could probably still fail in what you're trying to overall accomplish. Like, there's another part where you're like, there's these guys just like playing some like game, like this putt game, and you're like, you want to go like show these old men like, yeah, I know what I'm talking about, and you're like, you go up and you're just like, look at me go, and you just whale this ball like into the lake, and they're like, guy, that was our only ball. Like, what are you doing? He's like, I don't know. And they're like, wow, the police are a jerk. And he's like, I'm like, I don't know. And just like, everything you do in this game is just, it's like one of those things, like, I just played it for a while and I'm like, I'm not making any headway, but it's just fun, like, just failing over and over and over. There's like another part where like I made my character super like non-athletic, and I tripped and died. The game was over in like 2 turns, and I'm like, oh, well then, that's a bummer. But Disco Elysium, it's a fun time.
Yeah, I picked up that game because I heard it's a fantastic, like you said, like role-playing game where you build up your character, and if you go against what your character can do, then the game's like, well, you chose this life. Mm-hmm. We didn't make you do this.
Yeah.
I started it a few times and I didn't get very far.
Yeah, it's a rough go. Like, I don't know. It's just it cracks me up. But like, the more you go, the more you explore the world. You're like, okay, I understand what to do, or like how like kind of how things work.
Mm-hmm. The writing in it is fantastic, though. Like,
yes.
I also just really like the intro of it before you can even start the game.
Yeah, and it's a fun game, but if you get frustrated easily or don't want to read a lot, then probably skip.
Yeah, it is a heavy reading game.
Maybe don't.
Go play Hat in a Time. There's not a lot of reading, and it's kind of difficult to fail.
Oh, there you go.
A little bit for everyone. So, what are your runner-ups, Hop?
All right, so my runner-ups, one of which I wrote was Oxenfree.
Okay.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, that one I think is really fun because it's got really fun characters in it, and the way you explore the world is pretty interesting. I played it through one way, not realizing you can like affect the relationships. So I've been meaning to go back and try and, if anyone is familiar with my content, if there is the option to essentially like ship people together and have them date in the end, then I'm obsessed with that. So in Oxenfree, you can like have people react to each other in certain ways, such that some people end up together, some people end up mad at each other. I remember one time I just started a fresh one just so I could see someone slap someone, and then I canceled the save because I didn't want that to be the the conclusion. So that's a fun one if everything's voice acted. So there's like, it's a lot of dialogue storytelling, but it's all voice acted for you, so it's not heavy reading. And it's a little eerie, but not scary. So if you're like, you like Halloween, but you don't want like Five Nights at Freddy's things jumping at you, it's got a good like in between.
What game was that? I missed the
Oxenfree.
Oxenfree. Okay.
Yeah.
That's on my
That's
list
an excellent
somewhere.
game.
Yeah.
I need to go back and play that too.
The whole concept is you're a bunch of teenagers on an abandoned island, and then weird stuff happens with your radio, and your guys are all investigating it.
Nice.
Overcooked is one that I also put as a runner-up. At first, I wasn't going to put Overcooked, but then I remembered the first Overcooked once I discovered that it was like a 4-player like co-op thing. One holiday weekend where I took a week off of work, me and my boyfriend's family, we all just sat there taking turns trying to we tried to see how far we could take Overcooked in one weekend. We beat every level, and then we bought the holiday levels, and then we beat those levels. And we didn't have enough controllers, so some of us were like sitting next to each other using like half a controller. So I think that was so, but in another way, that makes it kind of like a nicer way for them to accommodate. Like maybe you want to play like two people, but you only have one controller. Each of you has like half the controller. It's awkward, but it's a nice like sentiment to say like you don't need all the buttons, so you guys can still play together without having to run out to the store and buy a bunch of controllers. Right. Yeah, Overcooked is a great. You either trust each other more or less, depending on how you all do.
I remember I played the second one with your trifecta, your trifecta group, J2 and JR, and that's where the meme of me and Mixer's grandma started. I chose the grandma skin. I'm like, oh, hello there, dearie. Take the soup. And then like I realized I didn't help at all. Like, maybe like a real grandmother, but it was just like I think I got hit by so many cars and fell off the cliff so many times that people just ended up doing the missions without me.
Yeah. Some of the levels do require you to like actually like be tight knit, but we also were obsessed with 3-starring every level. So but yeah, that's a great one to like have as co-op because you've got the food prep, you've got the food cooking, you've got the food delivery all like happening as the game is fighting you. So that's always a fun time with people. And then this guy who I almost put as my second place, but after like thinking about it more, I put it as my first runner-up is Stardew Valley. That is the game that I think I could legitimately, like, if I just want to turn off the rest of the world, turn on lo-fi, and just do whatever I want for hours. Stardew is the one. And the one thing that I really have to appreciate about it is that the guy, like, he made it himself, and every time he puts out new content, he refuses to make it paid content. So he just tweeted out recently that was he has another update coming with a bunch of like fall themed stuff. And all he did was put a teaser picture, and on Twitter everyone's like trying to like figure out like, oh, there's ducks, oh, there's trees that are kind of underwater, and like try and like surmise all this stuff. And
what does it mean?
Yeah. So yeah, for anyone that is not familiar with Stardew, it's a farming simulator mixed in with a dating simulator. So you know, it scratches all my itches.
But not like farmers only, right?
Yeah, no, not quite farmers only. You don't have to date another farmer. But
for them, it's farmers only.
Yes. It is interesting though. I have talked growing up, Harvest Moon was probably one of the games I put the most time in on like my original GameCube and stuff. So this was like a natural like. Once I saw Stardew, I was like, oh, this is it. This is everything. And it's interesting. I have different people I can talk to that have different things they like to do in Stardew. Some people just like to try and reach the bottom of the mines. Some people just love fishing. Some people love the actual farming aspect. I have someone else I'll talk to. I'm like, who should I date on this playthrough? And then we'll compare all the personalities of the people you can and can't date. So it is a very relaxing, very fun game. And one of my saves, I've reached a point where I have enough sprinklers that I never have to actually actively farm. I can just wake up, harvest my crops, and then go do whatever I want. I don't have to water a single thing.
Sounds great.
I have this game, but I never opened it. I bought it like in 2017 or 18. It just still sits on my computer.
Yeah, there are ways to have like co-op farms too, which is nice. Mm-hmm. So you guys can have like your houses on the farm. So if you don't like tackling the beginning of the farming, you know, by yourself, you can have a friend come and help.
That's cool. So yeah, I've seen some people play, but I haven't played yet. But after playing stuff like I've been playing lately, I might go back and give it a try.
Okay.
Before we move on, I opened up my Steam and then I saw there was other games that I've heard that would definitely be my runners up. Can I just list them off real quick?
I feel like there are games I'm probably leaving out as well.
Yeah, I'm not gonna scroll through all my Steam games because I have like over 400 of them. But just real quick, Little Misfortune would be on my runner-up list. If you guys, I'm not gonna ruin this game. It's definitely just play it. It's just a little girl that's just like that talks like, hello, Mr. Voice, how you doing? And it's just like, it's great. It's hilarious. Everyone should play it. It's like 4 hours, 3-4 hour game. Really fun. There were other ones. I gotta scroll down and find them because I lost them. Cuphead, I really enjoyed.
I've actually, I've co-opted with someone and finished the game, and we refused to go back to play it on the higher difficulty.
Yeah. Like me and every other game, that's what we started our co-streams off on, because I was like, I kept asking people like, you want to do Cuphead co-op? It'd be funny. And it's what started now the meme in both our chats called I Like Charge, because I remember when we first started playing, it's like, yeah, EOG, this is EOG's dumb stream when he plays with me, and he's like, what are you guys talking about? And I'm like, when you watch his streams, he's very like meticulous and like very like into stats, and this does this, and like this is the weakness for this person, and this will add all these different like attack bonuses, all this stuff, because he plays a lot of RPGs. And then you got his co-op person, me, which just runs around and says, I like charge. Because there's a weapon, all you do is charge it and make a bigger shot. So which is what happened, because he was like, oh man, this shot is able to like home in, and this is able to like lob over different things. And I'm like, I like Mega Man, so I'm just gonna charge. I'm just gonna charge my gun and shoot this dude. So yeah, that was
charge go brrr.
yeah.
That's what that is.
Gris is another fun one. It's a very much platformer puzzle game. Really cool experience playing that. I'm just gonna give one more scroll. Oh, okay. So here's a game that everyone should play, I think, because the music is amazing. It's got a really cool story, and it's just a big old mystery. So there's no combat. There's just like kind of a little bit of stealth, a little bit of mystery, and you got to figure it out. It's called The Sexy Brutale. I forget when it came out. I think it came out 2016, 17, 18, somewhere around there. But yeah, pretty much you wake up and you're in this mansion, and you're going through different time instances to save the lives of the people that are in there. And so as you're constantly just going through and like, okay, there's like, I can't remember the first one is like pretty much this person, like one of the instances pretty much there's this woman that like goes and gets locked into this vault, and you need to get her out of the vault, because inside the vault is a giant spider. But the person that yeah, but like the person that would help you get out of there is to like to help fight the giant spider is this person that is in the casino playing Russian roulette, and but with drinks, and one of the drinks is poisoned.
Oh,
So like what you have to do is find a way to pretty much show that this girl is in trouble, so the guy, like their lovers, will go save him or save her, sorry. And like it's just trying to figure out all these different ways to do that, but like you can't be in the same room as anybody else. So like so you're constantly like you'll walk up to a door and listen, and you're like, uh-oh, there's someone walking. So you're like, if there's not like a closet you can hide in, you just gotta like run to the other side of the room and just get out of there before the person finds you. And you're just like, it, I don't know, it's just a real fun puzzle game. And the story is really cool. Like it's the Sexy Brutale. Music's amazing. It's like jazz pop kind of style music. Real fun time. I just remembered what the first mission was, but yeah, it's still like that's the whole set of the game. Like you find one of the people in this world and in this mansion, and you're just trying to save their life, and it's constantly like finding more information. You're very much a detective, and you're just trying to find information, and then there's sometimes like you find out the information and you're like, oh well, I need to go back in time and do something else. So like you have to like restart at a certain time, and then watch, like remember where certain people are going to be standing and what they're going to be doing, so you can make sure like a certain event will go off that will save their life. So it sounds really complicated, but it's like as you play through, like it's definitely one of those games that it slowly builds up so that way you understand what's going on. But Really cool game. It's probably really cheap. Actually, I think it's on sale. Yeah, worth
Nice.
checking out.
Okay.
I closed my Steam so I don't bring up any more games.
Yeah, I tried scrolling through my list and I couldn't see anything that stood out to me that I thought I should also mention.
So,
I think I mentioned enough the first time around.
so
Honestly, if I could just be an Annapurna partner, I would just sponsor
they
me.
make so
Annapurna.
Yeah, they make some good stuff.
There's a game where like you're just this dude with a guitar, and the whole game is you just having battle the bands with like existential creatures to like go find your dad or something like that.
Oh,
I forget what it is. Like all I remember is like pretty much you're standing there with a guitar. I remember watching this guy play and I was like, oh my gosh, you're terrible. Can I just play? But I had to be nice because we were at PAX. So, but it was like pretty much you had to like, it was like Simon Says, and the guy just wasn't putting it together. I'm like, just play the notes. Play the notes.
The Artful Escape.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that, but I couldn't remember what the name was, so I just looked it up really quick. But yeah.
But that game looks cool. Annapurna has
That does look pretty fast.
so
Like
many cool
fascinating.
Yeah, they do. I was double checking something as well. Ashen is another fun game that they make.
Yes.
If you're into like the Dark Souls
Yeah,
type
Yeah,
of.
that's like co-op Dark Souls, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember
Yeah,
checking
they've
that out.
got a ton. I can't wait for some of the ones that they're working on to come out. The one that they're really teasing a lot lately is called 12 Minutes. So it's a game about a man stuck in a time loop. And they just recently, like within the last couple of weeks, announced the voice actors for the movie. So it's Daisy Ridley, James McAvoy, and oh my gosh, what's his name? I can literally see his face in my head. And I cannot remember his name. Yeah, what's that?
Time to say random actors until we get it. I don't know actors' names. The first one that popped in my head was Batman.
Willem Dafoe.
Oh, okay.
It's I can't wait. I cannot wait.
I heard about that on the podcast. Yeah.
This is one that I've had for a while. 12 Minutes.
12 minutes.
Here, I'll actually link the trailer.
Yeah, I think I recall seeing the trailer because it's that whole like, piecing together what happened.
Pretty much in that one area, like in their apartment. It's like a one-room apartment or something similar to that. But I've had it on the radar for a while, and they've been teasing, like some of the stuff they're working on, like motion capture, and like they publish a lot of stuff that's like all the stuff that's like in motion and like how they're achieving this or working on that, or the process of just like having like all the different like reactions and like body language and stuff like that. It's like they're going through like all of it like as they're making it, and for them to just come out and be like, oh hey, here's 3 like ginormous huge stars to work on our video game. I mean, it's not out yet, but this is what you can expect. It's like, oh, okay.
Okay, my brain is now thinking of a whole bunch of indie games that I'm like, these games are amazing. So let's move on before I just have more word vomit of games. So Rainbow, what is your number one indie game that puts all other ones to shame and is the best one?
Whoa.
I think because I've talked about all the rest of them, I'm pretty sure everybody can probably guess what it is. But officially announcing it, saying it out there right now, my number one indie game currently is World of Horror.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Very good. Very good game.
We all can talk about it. We all played it.
Yes.
I don't know if it's anybody else's number one, but it's, well, of course. It's unlike anything that I played before, but there's so many different aspects of it that inspire nostalgia and familiarity that it feels like that I've played something like it before. I'm a big scaredy cat when it comes to like, scary games or like suspense or whatever. Like anybody can tell you. Like I get like freaked out and sometimes like jump at things that aren't supposed to be scary. So probably for some people, like watching me play or like watching me like do like any extended amount of time like in that game, we're probably like, well, why do you like this if jump when there's just like random sounds, right? um it's a lot of it, I feel like, is like the design and the whole just aspect of the game is what really draws me in. So like I've said before, and I'll say it again, that yes, like there are like really gross things or like sometimes like scary things or like unexpected things that just kind of like freak me out, and then I get mad and then I laugh about it. But I feel like probably like the biggest part is that it's reminiscent for me like of those choose your own adventure type books, because like you're going through the story and like you're trying to progress it, but there are a lot of options that you're presented with like as part of that journey, that run or whatever. But it's also got the feel of like being like in like those like the old school Macintosh computer labs of old. Like you boot up the game and like you play through it, and it's got like all the what do they call it, oh, what did they say, like a 1-bit love
1 bit
letter.
and 2 bit. Oh wait.
Yeah, like it's a 1-bit love letter to Junji Ito and Lovecraft. So like I've read some of like the like the spirals and the like the cloud shaped like heads and like the holes in the mountain and like all that stuff. So like I've seen the like a lot of the creepypasta. So to have like some of that tie into it, and then you've got like Lovecraftian type horrors to go like on top of that, and it's like, oh god, like really, why am I playing this game? But I think it's fantastic. I think it's an immense feat made by one person. So it was made by a Polish developer and a part-time dentist. So he does dev work, but he's also a dentist. And he designed the entire game in MS Paint, which I think is like something that's probably unheard of about now. Like everything that you see there, I think there's like 110 like main events, and then you've got like all the different types of cards and encounters and like all the enemies that you encounter and like all the places that you go, like all those things, every single thing that you see in that game was made in MS Paint, which that just completely blows my mind.
Yeah.
The music I think is fantastic. I think it's pretty apt. It also just kind of reminds me of like the 80s like unsolved mysteries type music to go with it. The replays I feel like take the sting out of it, but in a good way. So like when I first played it, I was like, oh gosh, what's gonna happen? I don't want I was freaked out about like trying to figure out what happened. Now I'm obsessed with trying to like unlock all of like the choice paths and trying to like get all the achievements and trying to solve all the mysteries like with all their different endings and like secret endings. And there's items that you have to get like in certain mysteries that you're trying to solve so that you can apply it to other mysteries, which then unlock other different things. And it's a mysteryception. So like my insatiable appetite for wanting to know things overrides all of the, oh gosh, what happens if this happens, or what happens if something gets cut off, or like something explodes, or somebody like attacks me or whatever. Like then I'm like, okay, but what happens? Like, how do I get to this? How do I do this? Where do I go to do this? What does this apply to? Does this apply to anything? Is it just for this mystery? Is it for, one or two other things? Is this even something that I can do? Because in this run, like I've got this one story, but it's not related to anything else. Like it's a lot of strategy planning, which I feel like that emerges more the more you play. So like the more run throughs that you have, the more endings that you start getting, then it starts becoming like, okay, now it's like achievement hunting. Like now you're trying to figure out what you're missing, like what else you still need to do, how many other stories there are. And none of that's even touching like the whole modded community that they also have. So there's like a whole like Discord, like where they share like a whole bunch of like ideas that they're working on. People are making their own stuff to put into the game. There's like entire like decks that people have made like of their like interactions and all kinds of stuff. And what else? Gosh, I think I've probably covered everything that I wanted to. But the only other thing that I think is fantastic is that this is all in pre-release beta. Like there's some, you know, alternate endings for mysteries that you can't get because they're not created yet. So like when, you know, when the full game comes out with even more things, and you know there's more content to play through, and more things that you can customize and mod and all that, like it's just going to be even more of what, you know, we already enjoy. I feel like the experience that I have playing that game could easily rival like any other like complete game, and they still have more to go. So I think that's it's fantastic. And it's also just fun to watch me get really mad at the RNG because I'm like walking through and I'm like, oh man, I need a soda, and then you know I've got like a concussion and like you know a ripped abdomen and like this and that and this like just from trying to get a soda for like $1. That's it. And then it's like, oh man, I went through like this whole entire mystery and like didn't, you know, encounter, you know, an enemy once, and then like, you know, go into the next mystery, and like that's as soon as like I start that one, then it's, oh man, well, I got caught in this and now I'm dead. All right, now I gotta start over again. I think probably like the only other thing that I really love about this is that is the fact that it's like it's old school. So like when you die, that's it. Like you have an option like to save your game, but whatever you save it, like it literally just replays like from that one part of the game, and that's it. Like you can't, you know, like load an earlier save, you can't do any of that stuff. So, you know, for, you know, all intents and purposes, when you die, that's it. It's like you lose that, you know, that specific set of mysteries that you're going through. Like you lose all your process, you lose all of that. So it's like, oh man, I really definitely have to solve this one, because if I don't, then I lose everything and I don't have like this combination again. It's like if you happen to, you know, roll like a set of mysteries that you actually need, you know, because they're linked and like you have to get this through that and this through that. If you die, you lose that. That's it. And there's no guarantee that you'll be able to get that same combination later on. So like there's also like a sense of urgency and, you know, and urging to play this, you know, smartly, because it's like I said, like as you get, you know, further in the game, you go through replays, you know, you start realizing, okay, well, if I'm doing this one, then I can get this, so that I can do that one. But if you die, then oh no. Am I actually gonna be able to get this again? Like when will I have the chance to, you know, go through this and actually play it? So there's that whole aspect to it. It's way more multifaceted than it seems like on the surface, and I love stuff like that, like stuff that seems simple, and then once you get into it, it's like, oh my god, there's like 80 other things that I didn't even think about, and now I must, you know, research all of those things.
Like I want to see dog but raises doom.
Yes,
It's worth it.
Always boop dog on nose.
Yes.
oh yes. I'll spend like a good 3 minutes just boop, 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 boop. And then when he goes away, I'm like, no.
I had
That's the only one you can do that to.
I know my RNG was terrible at one point. I was playing and they were like, I think the dog went missing, and then on the TV it said the dentist is using dog teeth, and I was like, no, please, please.
Not this dog. Somebody
Not this
else's
dog.
So the dog left.
I love that they don't say like, you know, that the dog like died or whatever. They're just like,
It left.
the dog left town. Like the first time I played this, I was like, why do I live in this town? Why didn't I also leave town when this stuff started happening?
You should have left with the dog.
Yeah, just take the dog, pack up, and just go somewhere else.
But then you can get the instance where it's festival doggo. And he's just like, hello.
Yeah, and he's got like his fancy little shack, but you can't boop him on the nose. The only one you can boop on the nose is the one actually in the store.
But it's the trade-off, because you can also get the rock there. So
That's also true.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That it is a real fun game. Like, and like they give you that like practice sequence where you're like, okay, you understand what this game is, and then you like go do the five cases, and then you're like, okay, I think I understand. I'm like, well, that first instance probably won't show. Oh my gosh, it's there. So it's like,
Oh yeah.
oh no.
Oof, that school one just. Oof.
Yeah, it always. I remember sometimes I'd be staring out the window, and be like, "Is that important, or is it just gonna scare?" Oh, okay, that's what it does.
Yeah. Thinking about that one thing in the school where it's like, look outside, and I didn't know what was going on. I was like, oh, never doing that again. Like to this day, I still don't like doing it. Like if I accidentally click on it, I actually have to hide my eyes even if I'm on stream. I'm just like, oh no, no, no.
I don't know. I'm the dumb one that's just like, yeah, hello. But then I'm also the one that's just like, listen here, Canna, I'm gonna stab your eye.
Yes,
You deserve it.
do it.
Yeah, but no, it's
You
a great.
got us into this with your Doritos Locos looking shirt.
No, it's a great game, and I happened to just like right before I realized the game was available. I picked up some Junji Ito books, so like I had just read some of those, and then someone was like, "Hey, did you see World of Horror? I think it's up to your alley." And I looked at the art, and I was like, "Yeah, I need."
Give.
I saw it at PAX South, and then I just looked at the line. I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna get into this.
Mhm.
And then I was just like, but I remember watching one of my friends. He was playing it. I'm like, man, this is really cool. And I'm like, that's what it's called. Sweet. And then I didn't do what I did when I was at PAX East, which was make a list of games I want to check out. And so I walked away and immediately forgot what the name was, and immediately forgot to go
No.
back. So I'm just like, oh man. But then fortunately, like I heard about it on podcasts, and then Rainbow and Hop were playing it. I'm like, oh yeah, that game. So
I would also just like to vouch for the whole PAX South thing, because that was actually one of the games that I did want to check out, and the entire weekend that line was like solid. Like they capped it like every single day.
it's a sign you
And
got
we're
a
like,
good game.
well, I mean, here they're like, well, you could take a picture like of the flyer that we normally give out because we're almost out already, and this is like the first day. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, I'll take a picture. And I went and added it on Steam, and I was like, oh no, I'm definitely getting this as soon as possible. But yeah, no, like everybody wanted to play that game. And I can see why. Like I can totally see why now. But not knowing, I was like, well, that's kind of annoying.
But hearing about your experience with it, it's probably better you played it at home.
Oh yeah, yes.
So you can dive in real deep.
Don't have to go back to the hotel and change my pants. Yeah, totally.
Oh man. So, but yeah, I almost said a different game that's not on my list at all. I haven't even played it. World of Horror. The only reason it came up because it was next to it, and I'm like, that game looks cool. But World of Horror definitely good one. I don't even know how much it is, but yeah, you know, like if you guys haven't tried it, you definitely should. It's not jump scare, which it, like I feel like when most people like. It's not like a like I'm trying to think of what kind of horror it is, and it's not like scary horror where you're just like, oh my gosh, and like I guess it, like in certain wow, words. I do podcasts and stream. There are instances that like where like the anxiety can rise, but it's just like I think this game excellently puts out like this feeling of just dread. You're just like, I can't do this, dread. But the one stat, I had a stinking leech two cases ago that just stole my ability to be tough and strong. Well, now I have to be tough and strong to tell this man to leave me alone. If I fail, I'm going to lose all reason. And it's just like, it's just this dread and like just. No.
It's so many different combinations of like game styles. So there's like RNG, you know, like when you're going through and like you're trying to like explore things or like go around the city where you're trying to do your investigation. Like it's, you know, all different events that, you know, pop up like here or there. Some of them, you know, like you have the power to choose. Some of them are just like completely up to RNG. Some of them depend on what you have in your inventory. So like you might, you know, pass the skill check, or you might pass this item check, or you might not if you don't have it, or if you don't have enough. And so like some of these things are like well beyond your control, especially, you know, if you just happen to like start like this one mystery, you know, before the other one, and then you don't have something that you need to, you know, finish that one off. Or you know, you might just run into like a whole bunch of like really strong enemies. And then it also depends on which old god you're fighting, because that also determines, you know, the first type of effect that you have to deal with. So like there's one god that you play under where um, like you can't escape from combat. So like that's not even an option. So like then you have to redo your entire strategy, because then you have to arm yourself, you have to find, you know, this and that. And then there's some that are like, oh well, you know, you have the power to you know, or learn and cast spells, but then it also raises doom. So like there's the three different ways that you can die like in the game anyway, but then there's things that just heavily affect that. So either you know, like you run out of strength, you know, like your health runs out, you run out of reason, or you like your doom meter reaches 100% before like you beat the game. So it's like constantly trying to manage those things, being aware of those, and then, you know, like on top of that, also trying to solve these. And like some of these, you know, interactions that you have, or events that you engage in, like you already know how they're going to affect you. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. And then also depending, like I said, you know, on whichever, I keep wanting to say pantheon, and I know that's not right, whichever old god that you know, you happen to be doing this run under. um you know, it could be that these things are possible, it could be that they're not possible, and then, you know, you have to decide whether or not you're going to go through the whole thing or not, because well, it's what, 5 mysteries, and you know, maybe like a couple minutes a piece. Like it's a pretty decent amount of time that you spend per run. You know, are you going to just try to go through it and like see if there's any possibility, you know, of beating this, or you know, are you going to just go, okay, well this isn't working and I'm just going to go ahead and refresh. So it's, there's so many things to just consider. It's a lot.
You just said one thing that I completely forgot you could do, which was run away from battles. Now
Well,
I'm
yes,
realizing why
yeah.
I never got past the, well, I have got past the third case, but I'm like, why is she so hurt? I'm like,
I know.
but I'm just sitting there, I'm like,
She's
I got a
actively
gun.
bleeding.
Yeah. Well, let's also be fair of how I play. Like, if there's things that I can eat that don't actually raise any of the meters in a negative way, I'm eating or taking in that. So lump of
Oh.
flesh, always eating
Oh.
that, always getting the holes in my body.
Yeah, but then that also helps in like one specific mystery. But
Which,
I didn't even realize that until like I just happened to be playing like that, and like I ate it because I didn't have anything else because I was broke. So I couldn't like go out and buy anything to, you know, to raise anything. So I was like, well, I need more strength, and I've got this suspicious piece of meat. I guess I'll eat it. And, you know, then it's like, oh, well, then, you know, this. And then I went to this other one. I was like, oh, that actually helps like a lot. Okay. Well, now I know for next time if I have these two mysteries together, if that's even possible. Um, but then, like, I didn't even think about or think to mention the fact that you can alter like your playthroughs at the very beginning. So like you can either do like all randomized. So it's 5 mysteries that you choose from. You can do like all randomized mysteries. You can change out the deck of events. You can change your main character, which, you know, you get more main characters unlocked as you do like specific achievements. Um, I think it's the like the area itself that you play in or something similar to that. And I believe I saw a different mode that he's working on too. So I mean, there's like constantly like different things like to look at and check out. Like he does content updates a couple times a year, I believe. Is always very, you know, like, you know, upfront and transparent about stuff that he's working on. You know, when it's coming out or when he thinks it's going to come out. It's a lot. It's a lot of fun.
yeah, definitely, guys. If you wanna check out a pretty, I would say it's probably one of the easier horror games to get into.
Mm-hmm.
Like from a scary point of view. Like definitely go check that out. It's fun. It's not gory. It's not super bloody gory, but it's got some disturbing scenes. So
if you like creepypastas, play this game.
I'm just thinking about the eyes. Like as soon as I said that one line, I was like, there is that part. Oh, and
Yeah.
that other part.
Yeah, there's a couple
Hmm.
mysteries that are harder to look at than others.
Looking at it as a growing opportunity. Raise your own personal doom meter. All
Oh
right.
yes, also yes, it is currently 14.99 on Steam.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well then. Yeah, I guess we'll go on because if you guys didn't know, we all like that game. So that's
Hmm.
definitely 3 thumbs up or stars or I don't know, cheesesteaks, whatever you want to use to rank this that we all like.
3 eels up.
um you think you know what my number one will be? Well, let's see. Will you be right or will I be a disappointment? We'll see. um my number one is an indie game that I've played multiple times and it's just one of these games that I constantly go back to. It came out. I guess this will tell Nope if you know what I'm talking about or not. This came out a couple of years ago, um, and it's called Night in the Woods. Um,
Ooh.
yeah, Night in the Woods. I played. I think like the year it came out. I know I didn't play it as soon as it came out. Oh, okay, she called it, but she didn't write it down, so we're not 100% sure she's Itisdpayne. No. Yeah, I do talk about this game a lot. Night in the Woods is one of my favorite games of all time. It's pretty much, if you guys don't know what Night in the Woods is, it's pretty much you are a college dropout that comes back to their it's based in like small town middle America, where at least it has that feel, but it could be really any small dying town because like they used to have industry. They even talk about this where like they used to have industry come in, but like since all these different jobs started going down and like the plant that brought all these jobs to keep the town alive closed, it's just dwindling. And you come home and you're just kind of reconnecting with like your friends who are just trying to live life, and you go through and you're like trying to rekindle these friendships, like rebuild relationships with your parents and stuff. And like people are like, well, why'd you drop out of college? And I don't really want to talk about it, like, and all this stuff. So there's like it's a spoiler why she drops out of college, but it's it deals with a lot of like um I guess aspects of like mental health and just dealing and coping with that from like a multitude of different characters. Because like the main character that you deal with, like I'm totally blanking on the main character's name. I think it's Mai, but like she definitely has her whole thing going on. But then there's just May. Thank you. But then the other characters, your friends, they have their own things. Like there's um Greg and Angus. They're dating and they want to of um move out of this town to this other like closer town that's a little bit better for them, because like pretty much they're just the fact that they're dating just gets looked down upon. Not a people like them because one of them was known as a troublemaker. But they're like, yeah, no, we can have a better life, better opportunity to do so. That's what we're trying to do. And I believe her name is May, but I didn't look it up. So like, but that's their story beat. Then you have another person who is just trying to take over the family business after like um her dad is like just gone off the deep end, and it's like just trying to figure out that, and like you can only choose so many storylines to go down with this, and it's just like no one's okay. But at the same time, there's like with those heavy story bits, there's like this whole like mystery of like you leave this restaurant with your friends and there's just like an arm just lying in the middle of the street, and they're like, what the heck's going on? And it's one of these things where the dialogue is amazing in this game because they're just like, whoa, it's an arm, cool, what should we do with it? dude, poke it with a stick. And you're like, what? And so you just grab a stick, and it's like you just start poking this arm, and it's just like moving back and forth, and you're just like, it's like, whoa, gross. And it's just like, I'm sitting there and like, these feel like real people, because this would like the words that they're saying are words that I would be saying if I was poking an arm, a dismembered arm. And it's just like, they're all sitting there like, who's walking around without an arm? What's going on? And it's and like just the dialogue is on point. The music is amazing, which I said she was bringing out a prop. This is my main prop, which is actually the record of Night in the Woods.
Nice.
Which I bought after I heard. But yes, you guys can't see it. They're all animal people. So yeah, you play as a cat. I don't
like that CD cover.
Yes. So it's the music is really fun, and it just one of the things about indie games that, like, as I've been playing a whole bunch of them, is that they are really good at picking music that fits the theme of what you're going for, because sometimes they don't have the team or money or just talent pool to make a AAA budget thing that can show everything through visuals. So they have an art style that they can work with and be creative in, but then the music is what really starts telling you about the mood and the theme of there. And it's like, you come back in fall, pretty much. It's like fall and it goes to like winter, those seasons. So you come back around Halloween time, and like there's a whole Halloween event, and there's just music. The music just fits the theme as like the seasons change and get colder, and as you go into different areas. They have this whole like small town. Like, I don't know about anyone here if you guys ever lived in a small town. I used to live in Saranac Lake, New York, which is, when I play this game, reminds me of this town. And it's just really small, but it's just like these small little like community things that they all do to like we're still here, we're all together. And like they have the Halloween event, and there's just this part where all these people backed out from doing the Halloween play, but your character has watched it so much, and when they were a kid, they're just like, her friends just like, can you just come in and do this? And they're like, I didn't have the script. He's like, but you know it. And he's like, yeah, I should, let's go do it. And like, you have to pick, you the player who doesn't know the lines just has to take context clues and choose whatever the next line is. And like, there's, when that happens, there's like no music, there's no like, there's like, I guess like people play, it feels like you are putting on a play, because you're just sitting there. And like, they take out all the in-game music, and then all they add is ambient noises of people just like
Oh, gosh.
and just like rustling of chairs, or just people moving as you're just doing the play.
Oh.
And you're like, oh
No
my
way.
gosh, this is the worst. But it is, I believe it's at most 10 to 12 hours, and there's multiple storylines you can go down. And it's like, it has its main story, but like you can go down either Greg, which is one of your friends that like was one of your best friends, or the other girl, and I think there's like one more character, but I can't remember who they are, that you can go down their story path with. Like, you can mix and match them, but it's like if you just constantly pick one, you get like 3 different instances of their story. And like by the last one, it's very much you're like, oh man, I feel so sorry for this person. I wish May, the main character, would shut up. Just, every time you talk, you make it worse. Please stop.
Oh, jeez.
Please stop. And you're like, this dialogue line, no, why'd you say this? And it's like cool. And you're like, you feel so sorry for May's friends, because you're like, you don't deserve this idiot of a friend who can't talk good. But like, you can also tell like it's very much like college students that are still having their brains developed, that are like, I think I know what's going on. And you're just like, no, just shut up. Just listen, just shut up. But it's one of my favorite games of all time, and I don't know how much it is, but it's definitely worth playing. If you want to get into a game that has like that fall aesthetic and stuff, is definitely worth checking out. So it's I don't know if anyone else here on the call has played it, but it's worth it. It's on pretty much everything, I believe, because it's an older game. I know it can't come out on the Switch and stuff. Um,
I haven't played it, but my really good friend actually played it and loved it, and asked me to get her some pins from PAX East of, I think it's like the four main characters, or like it was like a 4-pack of the characters. So I remember seeing
yes.
like some of the artwork and like checking it out like at the booth, but never actually played it because, like I said at the time, like I didn't think it was like types of games that I played because I didn't play like a whole lot of indies. But since then obviously there's some things that have changed. So it's one of the games that I had to circle back to, so it's definitely on my list to play.
Yeah, it's been on my list to play for a long time. I just never got around to it. It it sounds like the writing and the character types sound kind of familiar to how Oxenfree was going for too, because they're young adults and they keep saying things that are probably like, "Why'd you say that? Why'd you? No, that's
Yeah.
not." Uh...
Yeah. The dialogue is on point because it's there's sometimes you read chat and you're just like not chat but like you read what like I was reading chat while I said that while like when you read dialogue in a game you're like that's not what a human would say or like what a person would say in that situation. Like the writers do a really good job of like no like I could really see an idiot saying what this person is saying. Is like they don't pull punches. Like May isn't an intelligent person, but like just like all the main character, not even like the main characters. Like there's like a whole like side story with your parents, and you're like, oh my goodness, I feel sorry for her parents because of this idiot child. It's like
Oh
there's like, but the same thing is like not everything like it's just like she's just this a college age student that just has trouble communicating, and it's like in that lack of ability to communicate and stuff brings one really interesting like dialogue options, but at the same time real it seems grounded realistic like thing. There's a whole sequence where like there your like friends are like, oh man, there's gonna be a party in the woods, and they're like, oh cool, let's go out. And so she goes into the woods to this party, and then meets this ex, and they're like, oh, you're gonna go talk to him? Like you sent your back? He's like, no, I'm not gonna do that. And then like the only option you have is to keep drinking, and then you get drunk and like you lose control of your character. And she's like, I just want to say to everyone, I don't like you, or something like that. And everyone's like, oh, okay. And then like it's one of those things where there's music playing, everyone's like that, and there's another one of those things where all music just cuts out, like, and the only ambient noise is just the fire crackling, and just like people like it gives you like everyone's watching me, and then like your May's just like, and I have one more thing, and just pukes in front of everybody, and you're just
Oh
like, you're
jeez.
like, oh no, and she's like and then her and her drunken like stupor, like she's like, I'm so sorry and everything, and then like uh one of the friends just pretty much blows up on her like just because of her being an idiot. And it's like, and it's one of those things like at that point you're like, why is this person being such a jerk to me? And then if you go down her story path you're like, oh, this makes sense. And so
Ah.
it's I don't know, it I could talk about it, as people can tell, a lot. So it's definitely a game worth playing. I know me and a friend of mine, we were um, schedules didn't work out, but I think we wanted to play it and both of us voice act the different characters through it. Um,
Oh jeez.
so it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of reading, a lot of voices, but it's one of those games where it's fun to talk with everybody. And like I just also my brain's like, you explained like pretty much all like the traumatic people, but there's just like there are a lot of like points where like you do get along with your friends, you do get along with the community, and there's like a lot of little side stories and side things that like I don't really want to go into because like it's more fun to find and explore them yourself. But it's there's like a lot of really cool like charm and like little things that I remember playing it like my third or fourth time where I was like, oh, I didn't even know you could do this. And like it's just a real cool experience of just, it gives you that small town feel where everyone knows everyone. Like there's an old neighbor that's just is next door, is like, I remember you, you hooligan, you hit my mailbox with the baseball bat. And they're just like, I'm not gonna do that anymore. It's like, I know, I have my gun. You're like, are you threatening to shoot me? And it's just
Oh
like,
God.
and it's just like, you watch yourself. And it's just like this old person just stands in their lawn and just yells at like the youngins as they cross their yard. But it's just like, you learn to live more. It's like, oh, I think my character probably deserved that. So, but it's like, it's just, I don't know, just talking with the people in that game is fun. And then it's like you can just over listen to other people. Like there's a city committee that are constantly out, and you can just sit there and just listen to their conversation about how they're just planning for different events or how different things are happening, or like, what should we do? And it's like, I don't know. There's just a lot of neat little things in this game that are fun. So, yeah.
I don't think I knew quite as much about it, but knowing more about it now makes me want to play it even more.
Yes. I'm just gonna stop there because I'm like, well, if I keep talking, I'm gonna go into like spoiler territory. And I was like, I think I kept everything vague enough. So
Before it got dangerous.
yeah, it's one of those games you're like, man, this is really cool, but man, I feel sorry for anyone I talk to. Yeah, but yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So yes, you keep mentioning that I brought up props. So my number one indie game, it's been my number one game for a while. It's kind of like it helped me realize how much I actually liked a certain game genre that I used to be really embarrassed about. But then talking to people and like getting to know people, I embrace it now. So I remember whenever like I played Mass Effect. I love the Mass Effect, well, the core series. I didn't really finish Andromeda, but anyway, I one of my favorite parts was like the talking to people, like you said, getting to know people and figuring out things about them. Mass Effect, like I've seen it memed about on Twitter, but Mass Effect is like a triple A dating sim where yeah, you have all the other shooties and things, but like a lot of your conversations and things, you have like conversation points with people, and you have the path where you could be like, oh, I'm a renegade or I'm a paragon, and then you can eventually, if you talk to people in a certain way, you can date them. And that was the aspect that I was really into, and I didn't realize it until I started playing other games. And when I mentioned dating sims, people are like, oh, so you just like to see like anime characters like undress. I'm like, no, that's not what a dating sim has to be. That's just
Oh dear.
because like if you try to look that up on like Steam, you do get a lot of like cheap free games that cater to that side. But I ended up discovering this game because I really liked the content creator. Well, I still like the content creator, Jesse Cox. He does like a lot of YouTube stuff. I think he's done some Twitch stuff. I first discovered him back when I used to watch a lot of Geek and Sundry, when like Felicia Day ran it and Will Wheaton was on it doing tabletop stuff, and Jesse Cox was featured on it and stuff like that. So I had no idea what this game was. I just happened to be in the indie booth and I was like, I think that's Jesse Cox. I think I should go talk to him. So I did the thing that every awkward person does, and I walked him to him and I asked him, are you Jesse Cox? And he was like, why, yes, I am. I was like, I'm a big fan. He was like, thanks. And he immediately went, do you want to check out the game I've produced? And I looked at it, and he was like, it's a competitive dating sim for you to play with you and 3 of your friends. And my boyfriend was with me. He's like, oh, you've caught her attention 100%. And he like stepped aside and let like the game get explained to me. It's called Monster Prom. So that is the core of it, where it's like a dating sim. A lot of it's like dialogue heavy. It does have the fun aspect where if you can get a group of fun people together, you can all like do voices for the different characters as you make decisions that are not 100% great or as good as they can be, because there are stats attached to it. So you have things like your charisma, your smarts, and things like that. You have a whole bunch of stats on the side that you gain or lose based on decisions you make and how well they turn out for you. There's a cast of characters you can date. There's also a cast of characters that kind of just show up and just mess up the storyline. And then it also has kind of like the world of horror aspect to it, where there are items you unlock through multiple playthroughs to unlock new endings that you can't unlock unless you've played through things before already. So I just love it. The writing is very fun. Sometimes it's very self-aware and breaks the fourth wall, so it's even funnier as the player when the characters are like, "What? Are you choosing my destiny for me? Who do you think you are?" It's like, "Oh, you know." But yeah, so when I met JC Cox and he introduced me to the game, I actually was dressed up in a very like low grade Cuphead cosplay. So I had like a long sleeve shirt, gloves, and like a little baseball hat to make it look like Cuphead. And he was like, a lot of the concept for as you gain achievements is you get little Polaroids. And they had a bunch on the table. And he was like, I can sign a Polaroid for you. Which one do you want? And I was like, I'm not picky because I haven't heard of this before. He's like, oh, I have the perfect one for you. He pulls out this. For anyone who can't see it, it's all the main girls in the game in bikinis. And I just looked at him and he started laughing because he knew. But he did sign it. It's signed across the top. And if you can't tell, I also, so this was PAX 2018 when I got this. And then the other two PAX pictures are from 2019 when I met two of the head writers on it. When they had like a little open booth thing. And they, like, all of these people were super sweet. I sat and talked with one of the female writers, and she was asking me about which events I liked and didn't like. And I mentioned one, and she called across the room to the other writer guy and was like, ha, she liked my scene better than yours. And it was just... Yeah, they're great people. They have like constant free updates and things, and it is a lot of reading, but the choices you make are just very funny. It's very entertaining, and there's a whole bunch, like I say in chat, it is a very wild ride. When I tell you it's a dating sim, people don't expect like just how ridiculous it can get. And if you've been following me on Twitter at all, you've probably seen that I have some hints that in October I plan on playing this a couple times in October, and I have cosplays planned for some of the characters in it. So I'm very excited for that. And it's a very fun game. And I think you can also play it, like, it would still be fun solo. It's just if you want to be able to like do voices for all the characters, there are a lot of characters that come up, I think. And most of the other thing, it's a very inclusive game, which is nice. All the characters can date anybody. They don't see gender. They don't see any of that. You can even go to prom. And it's called Monster Prom because you're trying to get a date to prom. But and then yeah, so anybody is open to dating anybody, and you can even go to prom by yourself. There's some cases where you can, based on objects you buy, you can go to prom with that object instead of another person. And I have the DLC so that I added more dateable characters. And then they also have in the works a Monster Camp, I think it's called, which is like Monster Prom 2, where they're going to add more mini games and things to do while still having some of the core characters and introducing new characters.
You just gave the option that if I ever play this game, I know what I'm going for. I'm going to bring an object. I'm not going to bring another person. I'm going to bring a sack of flour or whatever.
Yeah, but the characters in it are so great. Like, there was one time we played, and I had this whole, like, discussion with a character, because it has that RNG aspect where you don't know where everything's going. There's this character that everyone agrees, his name is Scott, he's a werewolf, and every time I play with my friends, they're like, he's so wholesome. And I had this whole like path with them, and they yelled at me because they were mad because I corrupted him, because I introduced him to terrible influences. They're like, no, he's a good boy, Hop, how dare you.
Yeah, it's I never played it, but I do remember my only interaction with it is watching you stream it. It was, like, I think that was when someone bought like the mystery item or something from the store, and then like was just like, I don't know, they got like, it was broken because they got like all of these like random, I don't know, I think they like traded all their stats for money or something, to where they could just end up paying people for interaction or something. I don't remember. I don't know if that's exactly what happened, but it was just like, I remember they bought something where it just like depleted a stat or something.
Yeah, that happens a lot. There was a Christmas update, and like you open up the Christmas gift and there's different chances of what you can get. If you open up the Christmas gift and get coal, all your stats are 0. But then like it turns into this really fun time where like you're just trying to talk to people and they're like, you're so dumb, why would you say that to me?
Wow.
I want the coal. I'm gonna keep resetting the game till I get coal.
No, I love the game. If you guys are ever around on Wednesdays in October, I think that's the day I'll probably do it, because Wednesdays are when I do kind of like my visual novel kind of thing, and this is kind of in those lines. Then you are welcome to join me to help contribute voices and experience the game. It's very co-op friendly, because essentially one person needs to own it, and then they can kind of do all the controls, and everybody just like watch the stream and say like, oh, I pick up these options and things like that.
Yeah, I just remember watching it. It's like a really funny time to watch too, because it's like, I don't know. It cracks me up when it's just like people who aren't used to doing voices just start cracking up in the middle of doing their voice, which is just like, I don't know. That happened a few times, so I'm just sitting there just laughing at people just trying, and they're like, I'm gonna do it. But it's like it's always fun to have people just go out and do the voice.
Yeah,
So.
and a lot of the things that the characters say also make it very easy for you to break voice, because you're just sitting there like, wait, did he really just say that? And sometimes I think it's funny because some of the dialogue is written where you're sitting there, you're like, there's no way someone would believe this. And the next character goes, there's no way anyone would believe this. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, okay. The game understands.
I know.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, there are certain characters, some people I've introduced the game to hate. There's an NPC called the Interdimensional Prince, and the whole time he just comes through and he's like, because the game makes fun of itself and says in the introduction, like, yeah, they're going to prom, but in Monster High School, everyone's over 21. So everything's fine. But the Interdimensional Prince will come around and be like, I'm here to marry one of you. And I'll just hear an audible sigh as everyone's like, how do we get rid of him? He just gets in the way.
Oh, gosh. Okay, that sounds like a lot of fun, actually. I think I might have to add that on to the rest of the games on the list.
Yeah, it's not
Let's
a
increase the
game
pie.
that I think is obvious as an indie game for you to try. Like, it has a lot of, I think unless you have someone introduce it to you that is willing to explore this genre, then it gets fun. Like, before this, I did play Hatoful Boyfriend 100% through. That one, if you're not familiar, is Pigeon Boyfriends.
I was thinking about doing that after I finished Doki Doki.
Yeah, that's another popular
jeez.
dating sim. Yeah.
Okay, for
I
people who
watched
don't
somebody play
know,
that one.
I played Doki Doki for the first time like last month, I think it was, and in my normal goofs, I guessed one of the main plot points, all because of a voice I gave a character. It's like not even canon, like, and you're not even supposed to realize, but it was like just the voice I gave this character because of just how they presented themselves. I'm like, yep, this person's this. Just this full joke, and then everyone, once I got to the end of the game, were like, you don't understand how annoying it was for you to guess the plot point in the first 5 minutes of the game. And they're like, and it was even more frustrating because you didn't even know. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but oh well.
Yeah, right now I'm working through Steins Gate, and that's been a trip so far. That one I can literally only do once a week because my voice hurts afterwards, or my throat hurts.
But it's a guy.
No, I do really like visual novels and dating sims and things like that. Even if the game is not meant to be a dating sim, I will turn it into that. Example, Fire Emblem. If they give me the option to date people, it's a dating sim then.
Date your students.
Dragon Age. Just wait till they're 5 years older. It's fine. Dragon Age is another one I've been meaning to get into, but I struggled so much playing the first one in that game.
First Dragon Age is tough.
Yeah.
I get up to the same point. I'm like, how am I supposed to beat this guy that just Jedi Force pushes me around the map. I don't even know where he is.
But yeah, Monster Prom is definitely like a great time, especially with a group. I was able to like when gatherings were more popular, I would just get groups of friends together and we would sit together in the living room and just laugh about all the ridiculousness, come up with voices, and just have a good time.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
Also,
anything else?
if anyone's interested in it, be mindful. I would generally say it is a game for adults. Some of the theming, some of the topics, some of the imagery. There's no nudity. There's no full nudity, but there's. I would not recommend it if you want to play it with a younger crowd.
I think that was like probably what we would say for most of our games that we mentioned.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah. There are some indie games like the ones you guys like Sayonara Wild Hearts and Donut County. Very tame. Very like you can play with anybody.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
there are
farther up on the list than
But if we're talking about people who don't know how to interact with kids, I literally called my niece a meatball when I first met her, but she was like 1 month old. I'm like, oh, meatball niece. She looks more human now, so
that's good.
Yeah, good for her. I guess good for my brother and his wife too, because
hey, congratulations on not looking like a meatball.
You're not raising meatwad.
I'll sit and wait for the story when she's old enough to talk back to you, and you can call her Meatball, and she gets very confused.
Oh, well, I'm waiting until she has like some sort of consciousness so I can show her all the pictures I keep sharing on social media. It still cracks me up that the first one I made, my brother got in trouble and he didn't have anything to do with it.
Oh, jeez.
Like, I made it and then I was like, I sent it to him and he laughed. I'm like, do you care if I put this on my Instagram or and Twitter? Like, since more people than just who you know will see it. And he's like, yeah, whatever. We share a lot of pictures. I'm like, okay. So I put it up there. And then his wife saw it in the middle of a meeting. And she was like, what is this? And just had to stop the meeting and was like, I need to call my husband.
Well.
And he got in trouble and he told me. And I'm like, well, have fun with that conversation. So, yeah. She's a cool kid for someone that can't really communicate and all except for baby talk. So,
she's all right, I guess.
yeah, we'll see how life goes on. So, but yeah, well, if you guys didn't know what indie games to buy, you definitely do now. And originally I was gonna say there's at least 6, but guess what? We also named about, I think, like 30 in total.
Yeah. It was really neat seeing how like varied our list was. Because when I put down like Darkest Dungeon and Stardew Valley, I was like, those are really popular games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, there was a few I was thinking like Sayonara Wild Hearts. I was like, I think that's like I had to go with the 2 that I know that I'm like, there's no way I could not talk about these, so that was pretty easy. But I was like, yeah, Sayonara Wild Hearts and like World of Heart. I'm like, I'm pretty sure like Rainbow's gonna mention them, and then and I was like, and I just sat there and thinking, I'm like, honestly, Hop and I don't really have a lot of overlap in video games unless it's TFT. So,
no, we don't really.
like we have everything else we have overlap in except for our taste in games. So, yeah. And you know what? I'm gonna just say let's just skip the overlap because we just named a whole bunch of them, and I know half the ones I mentioned I didn't even write down. So yeah, if you guys want to know a game or a specific game, well, that just means you have to listen to the episode when it comes out on Monday. or rewatch the VOD, whatever one. I also realized we need to roll a D10 for next week's topic.
Yes. Do you want to do that offline or do you want to do it right now?
We can do it right now. Well, Rainbow, does your dice roller thing have different options, or is it just a D20?
It was just whatever came up in Google. It was just a D20.
Okay.
Let's
Well,
see if I can Here, hang on.
Okay, if you can roll a d10, you can have the honor of finding out what our next voted on topic would be.
All right, let's do it. Okay, rolling now.
As I go find the spreadsheet.
I got a 9.
You got a 9.
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm waiting for the sheet to load. And number 9 is fast food.
No,
Oh.
+1.
Wait, +1. Sorry, Saturday morning cartoons. Wait a second. Oh, we did childhood cartoons. Now we're doing Saturday morning cartoons. We'll probably offline figure out
What that means.
borders of that. But yes. Yeah, we're going to be talking about. So, for anyone that doesn't know, what goes on now is pretty much right after we finish this, is that on our Twitter, which is twitter.com/pointlessdisco, we will have a Twitter pretty much straw poll thing. I forgot what it's called. A Twitter poll, and we will have that versus the topic that lost last week, which was Beatles songs from the Beatles. And you guys will have pretty much the next 3 to 4 days to go and vote on what topic you want to force us to talk about next. And yeah, it's pretty much how it goes. Normally the way it goes when it's just Hop and I will normally end the stream with doing quizzes from the internet on said topic, but we realized that with a guest, chatting normally goes a little long. So which is a-okay. So yeah, that would be there. And Hop normally has a good closing thing that I don't know how to sum up, so I'll just let
All right, yeah. But yeah, thank you again for listening to another episode of Pointless Discourse with us. It's always fun to have another guest. We'll always have any links to how you can find us online. Otherwise, like Rainbow said, she's mainly on Twitch, but she's also got Twitter and Instagram. We'll make sure to have those links for you. DPayne and myself, we also have Twitch, Instagram, and Twitters. And we also have YouTubes. Again, I've been very bad about, but
good. Comes in waves.
Yeah, it comes in waves. If you like listening to the podcast in different formats, we are live with it Saturdays, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Twitch. On either of our channels, you could find us. We also do a multi-stream so you can see if both chats are active, what's going on. We also are slowly uploading full episodes to YouTube, and then we're on pretty much every major podcast thing.
Except iTunes.
We're on like preview iTunes or something weird like that.
If I get some time, I'm gonna be like, yeah, iTunes, put us on there.
Yeah, and then if you have any specific questions about the multitude of indie games any of us have listed, feel free to reach out to us in any of those formats. We clearly love indie games and would love to share them with everybody so they can all experience how fun they are. As far as all that goes, I know DPayne and I started asking people if you have feedback for us or if you leave reviews for us or anything like that, be sure to add us, let us know. If you talk about us in any kind of public way, let us know and we'll give you shout outs in the intro to episodes.
And if you write a review, we don't know how to find them, so if you could take a screenshot and show us, that would be great.
Our Twitter DMs are open. We messed that up before, but they are open now.
So, yeah. We're getting there. But Rainbow, definitely thank you for joining and coming on and chatting video games.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we have to say or want to say. Nope. All right. Bye.